You're listening to The Stephen Torriello Show, building a platform of liberty for people in search of truth with a dash of hope and a life worth living. The Stephen Torriello Show. And now, here's Stephen.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the show. As always, thank you for tuning in. So, breaking news today, Attorney General Merrick Garland assigns or appoints U.S. Attorney David Weiss to be a special counsel into the Hunter Biden probe. The level of corruption in our government bureaucracy is stunning. It's staggering. These people, the elite ruling class, people like A.G. Garland and Joe Biden and U.S. Attorney Weiss and all the other corrupt lawyers and politicians and bureaucrats in Washington, D.C., truly do think the American people are stupid. So I was just reading through this, and I thought it would be, I wanted to go to the most leftist media outlet that I can find. I usually do this because I always want to see what the other side is thinking. I always want to know what they're saying. I always want to investigate. I want to study the other side. This is what separates conservatives from leftist Democrats, is they never want to study under us. They stay in their little echo chamber, in their little happy bubble, and they never have to leave. This is why a lot of people on the left have no idea what is happening up until the last minute, and then by that time, they're too far gone. So what I mean by this is like the Russia collusion hoax. These people did not know the Russia collusion was a hoax until they found out it was a hoax just a couple years ago. And so it's kind of the same thing here. This is what they do with everything. They never know what we're thinking, but we always know what they're thinking. And so, for instance, if you ask a Democrat leftist, who is Tony Bobulinski, they do not know who he is. And this is because of the media that they watch. The leftist media is awful. They are doing a great disservice to this country by not informing the people. We do not have a free press anymore. We have a press that has been overtaken by the administrative state, by the government. And so they can push any narrative they want. Let's see, they can quarantine their viewers from any kind of information that they want. Anything. Until the story gets too big to where they have to report on it, like the Joe Biden scandal. For the longest time, they were thinking that all this was about Hunter Biden. And for the longest time, because they live in their little echo chamber, we were saying the entire time that this has nothing to do with Hunter Biden and everything to do with the President of the United States and these corrupt schemes that they got going on. Hunter Biden is just the bag man. He is just the guy that made the deals. That is it. And now that the scandal is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, the media has no choice but to report on it. And that's good. Because I'm telling you right now, Joe Biden is probably one of the most corrupt presidents we've ever had step foot in the Oval Office. And that is not hyperbole. I am not exaggerating. To overstate the level of corruption involved in the Biden family is impossible. You cannot overstate it. Because every single day it gets worse and worse and worse. And the corrupt Department of Justice gets worse and worse and worse too. Like, so for the longest time, I think a lot of my listeners that have been listening for a while know that I'm always talking about how the corrupt establishment, the Washington, D.C. swamp, their corruption is so obvious now. You know, not because they've all of a sudden become more corrupt. They've always been this corrupt. But it's because they're doing things out of disparity that they normally wouldn't do. Donald Trump has forced them to pull their mask off. Donald Trump shined the light, and the roaches started scattering. And some of the roaches started picking a fight, and they got cornered. And now the roaches they're panicked. They are desperate. And out of disparity, they're doing things they normally wouldn't do. Like blatant, obvious corruption and scandals. Like the Hunter Biden investigation, the Hunter Biden plea deal. That plea deal that nobody in America would get. Nobody. And it is obvious from day one why they were trying to do it. They were trying to give Hunter Biden a plea deal with 100% immunity from everything. It was a deal unlike anything we've ever seen. And then the media was lying to their viewers, telling them, oh yeah, this deal happens all the time. You know, this plea deal is pretty common. It's pretty average for somebody to have these felonies and not spend any time in jail. You know, it's just a normal run-of-the-mill plea deal. And then it comes out, a honest, fair judge that just asked some questions instead of rubber stamping the plea deal. All she did was ask questions, and the whole damn thing fell apart. The entire plea deal fell apart. And she literally asked the prosecution, she asked the Department of Justice, David Weiss, or Weiss, whatever his name is. Is it Weiss or Weiss? I don't know. I hear people say it different ways. David Weiss, have you ever seen a deal like this before? In a nutshell, I'm paraphrasing. I don't know exactly what the judge said. I would have to go back and look. But so she asked the prosecution, have you ever seen a deal like this come through the prosecution, come through the Department of Justice? And in a panic, he said no. And so the judge was like, well, don't you think like maybe you should probably take this back and look like, is he under investigation for anything else? And the Department of Justice, again, panics and says yes. What kind of prosecutor gets a plea deal? And I'm not a lawyer, folks. I'm not a lawyer. I read a lot of law, and only because I like to know my own rights as a citizen, and I like to read up on the law. And from what I've been gathering, what kind of prosecutor would be willing to sign off on a plea deal when the person they're prosecuting is still under investigation? I mean, I'm not even a lawyer, and I know that is not normal behavior for a prosecution. So in other words, the Department of Justice and Hunter Biden's lawyers were colluding with one another to give Hunter Biden a sweetheart deal that not only protected him, but protected Joe Biden. The judge, a honest judge, and the reason why she's honest is because she's not from D.C. She did not come from the corrupt bureaucrat swamp. She came out of somewhere else. She came from the outside. She's an outsider. She's not a D.C. judge. She's a judge from Delaware, and she was just asking some basic questions. If this plea deal, if this was anywhere else, if this was in Washington, D.C., Hunter Biden right now would have had a plea deal rubber stamped, and he would have never been able to be charged for anything for the rest of his life. Is that not insane? That's the kind of stuff that was in that plea deal. Something nobody's ever seen before. Not even the Department of Justice. The prosecutor had to come out and say, no, we've never seen a deal like this before. It's like, well then what are you doing, man? So anyways, back to the point. The Merrick Garland, Attorney General Merrick Garland, has come out today, breaking news, that he has appointed David Weiss, who was a part of the entire Hunter Biden plea deal saga. Okay, the entire damn thing. Mind you, this guy has major issues of obstructing investigators. That's what the IRS whistleblowers were talking about. They said that U.S. Attorney David Weiss obstructed them from doing a proper investigation into Hunter Biden. They wanted to get warrants. He said, no. They wanted a special counsel. He said, that's out of my authority. Essentially, he was telling the IRS whistleblowers that everything that they wanted and needed to investigate Hunter Biden, to do a proper investigation into Hunter Biden, he said was above his authority. Or he would say things along the line of, it would just get denied. All kinds of other shit. That's the kind of stuff he was saying. And so that same guy, that was giving Hunter Biden and colluding with Hunter Biden's attorneys to create the sweetheart plea deal is the same attorney, the same U.S. attorney that Merrick Garland appoints as a special counsel. A guy that is definitely going to be questioned for ethics. Somebody's lying. Either Attorney General Merrick Garland is lying or David Weiss is lying. That's the only conclusion that there is. Somebody is lying. And so I feel like this is a move to advance yet another massive cover-up for the massive corruption we have in our corrupt Department of Justice. Attorney General Merrick Garland has ruined the Department of Justice. Their trust and credibility is gone. It is just gone. Half of the country does not trust and will not trust anything that comes out of this Department of Justice from here on out. Think about that. One attorney general, under the order from a president of the United States, have single-handedly destroyed the trust and credibility of our Department of Justice, the trust and credibility of the FBI, and now the trust and credibility of the IRS, if not for these IRS whistleblowers that blew the whistle and was like, yo, we tried doing a proper investigation and we were obstructed. We were not allowed to do the investigating we wanted. And it turns out the reason why they weren't allowed to do proper investigations, like get warrants that they wanted to question Hunter Biden, even with that WhatsApp message where Hunter Biden was shaking down a Chinese business oligarch for money. You know, the whole message about I'm sitting here next to my father. It was a shakedown is what it was. They tried getting geolocation tracking on Hunter Biden's phone and Joe Biden's phone to see if Joe Biden was indeed sitting next to Hunter Biden when that phone call was made. They were denied. They were obstructed for 5 years. And the reason why was because David Weiss, Merrick Garland, Department of Justice, and the corrupt Washington, D.C. swamp wanted to obstruct and delay this investigation so that it could pass the statute of limitations. That is why. And that is exactly what the IRS whistleblowers were blowing the whistle on, was they purposely delayed and obstructed our investigation in order to let the statute of limitations pass on the crimes committed by Hunter Biden. That's what happened. So that same attorney, that same U.S. attorney, David Weiss, has now just been appointed special counsel into the Hunter Biden probe. The corruption is epic. And so I get on a left-wing media outlet because, like I said, I want to see what they're talking about. I want to see what they are telling their bootlickers, okay? I want to see what's being said in their echo chamber. And so I go to Salon. Salon.com is about as left as you're going to get. I'm talking pure 100% Trump derangement syndrome. These people are the people I'm talking about that are psychologically and emotionally broken by Donald Trump. And so I get on their outlet, and 5 hours ago, here's the title to their article. The GOP cries cover-up after Garland appoints Hunter Biden special counsel that they called for. Is this not incredible? I mean, the epic, just in-your-face gaslighting, the level of mental gymnastics one must do in order to think that nobody would have a problem with this U.S. Attorney David Weiss being appointed a special counsel into the Hunter Biden probe is just incredible. I'm talking gold medal mental gymnastics in order to believe that appointing this guy, David Weiss, the same U.S. attorney that was involved in this entire scandal of covering up for the Bidens, would be a great person to appoint as a special counsel. Here's the guidelines of who the attorney general can pick to be special counsel. So in the United States, the Attorney General has the authority to appoint a special counsel to investigate and potentially prosecute specific matters that might present a conflict of interest for the Department of Justice, or when it's in the public interest to have an independent investigation. The special counsel operates independently from the normal chain of command within the Department of Justice. The process of appointing a special counsel is outlined in the Code of Federal Regulations, specifically 28 CFR Section 600. The AG can appoint a special counsel from outside the government, typically a lawyer with a reputation for impartiality and integrity. The special counsel should have sufficient independence to conduct an impartial investigation. Well, I don't think David Weiss has a reputation for impartiality or integrity. What do you think? This is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So that's the guidelines for the Attorney General appointing a special counsel. Out of all the thousands of outside attorneys that AG Merrick Garland could have appointed, he appointed this guy. And then the Salon, the left-wing Pravda outlets, have the balls to come out and say the GOP cries cover-up after Garland appoints Hunter Biden special counsel that they called for. Yeah, we called for a special counsel. I've been calling for it for weeks right there with Mark Levin and many, many other people. This scenario right here involving the Biden family corruption is exactly what a special counsel is for. If you're going to put into the conduct code in appointing a special counsel, this particular situation would fit the criteria exactly. In complex issues like this, in complex cases where there's obvious, even an appearance of improprieties. So exactly the person that you would not appoint. So if you were to go through the definition, if you were to go through the book, the ethics book, on who you would not appoint as a special counsel in this particular case, it would be David Weiss. Because of all the other stuff that he's involved in. A conflict of interest on top of a conflict of interest. The interests don't get any more conflicting than David Weiss and all the scandals and cover-ups that he's involved in when it comes to the covering up for the Biden family. And yet AG Merrick Garland appoints him as a special counsel. It's truly amazing, folks. The corruption is truly amazing. And I think they're doing this is because James Comer from the House Oversight Committee has been talking about bringing Hunter Biden in for questioning. Sending Hunter Biden a subpoena to have him come in and testify. This is what Comer's been talking about all week, I think since Tuesday. And then all of a sudden, AG Merrick Garland appoints this guy special counsel. I think the reason why they're doing it is to cover up what they're doing, is so nobody involved in the investigation can come in for questioning. The level of corruption and cover-up that we're seeing is astronomical. We've never seen anything like this before in our lives. Ever. Ever. Not Watergate. Never. Not any time that I can think of. Certainly not this bad. I mean, this is, I don't know. This is like epic amounts of corruption here. We're not even talking about what they're doing to Donald Trump and the indictments. We're talking about specifically about the Biden scandals, the Biden Family Inc. Perfect example is the Joe Biden classified documents case at. Where's that special counsel at? We haven't heard anything. Nothing. We haven't had any leaks. The Department of Justice, Jack Smith, leaks something to Maggie Haberman, or whatever her name is, every single day against Donald Trump. There's leaks coming out of only one side. All the leaks coming out of the Department of Justice is against Donald Trump. You notice that? No leaks coming out against Joe Biden. We have no idea where the investigation is. We don't even know where the hell the special counsel is. Last I heard, he said he was scared and needed protection. And that was it. He just disappeared off the face of the earth. We haven't heard no leaks, no questions, no memos, no nothing, no contact whatsoever. But here in Jack Smith's investigation into Donald Trump, we get leaks every other day. So I pulled up this left-wing article from Salon.com, and it says Attorney General Merrick Garland announced on Friday that Delaware U.S. Attorney David Weiss, an appointee of former President Donald Trump, you see how they do this? Every single time they mention this guy, David Weiss, they have to mention that he was appointed by former President Donald Trump. And this is the kind of stuff that kind of just solidifies the thinking of the left. Like, oh, well, since he was appointed by Donald Trump, then There can't be any improprieties here, right? No, because they never ask themselves, and they never think critically about anything. And so what they don't know is that any kind of U.S. attorneys that are appointed have to be, especially in Delaware, have to be signed off by the senators. So Delaware has 2 Democrat-controlled senators. So those senators have to nominate David Weiss as a U.S. attorney, and then Donald Trump signs off on it. Do you think these 2 Democrat senators are going to nominate a MAGA Trump-supporting attorney, lawyer, to be a U.S. attorney? No, they're not. They're going to put a guy that maybe has an appearance that he's a Republican, maybe even votes Republican, but is a rhino. That is a Republican in name only. There's no way 2 Democrats are allowing a MAGA Trump-supporting lawyer as a U.S. attorney in Delaware. It's just not going to happen. And so this is why they constantly have to mention that David Weiss is a Trump-appointed U.S. attorney. They want to give the appearance that this guy is like friends with Donald Trump, when in fact that's not the case at all. It is clear and obvious at this point that this guy, David Weiss, is up to his freaking neck in corruption when it comes to covering up for the Bidens. But yet every single time they talk about him, they have to mention that he's a Donald Trump appointed attorney. So, all right, continuing on. He has been named as the special counsel in the Justice Department's investigation into Hunter Biden. The Associated Press reports the move follows the collapse of Biden's plea deal, as prosecutors are now saying that the case will likely head to trial, according to a Friday court filing. Despite advocating for the appointment of a special counsel in the investigation and acknowledging Weiss' request to ascend to the role earlier this year, House Republicans are now turning their backs on the federal prosecutor. A spokesperson for House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan told Fox News Friday that not only do they not believe Weiss is the right person to handle the job, they don't believe he could be trusted. Of course not. No, how dumb do you have to be? I'm telling you, these people on the left, these people at Salon.com, these Democrats, think the American people are so stupid. Of course people are going to suspect improprieties from the Attorney General or from the U.S. Attorney that was involved in this massive cover-up for the Biden family. So out of the thousands of attorneys that he could have picked to be outside counsel, he picks this guy. So of course it's going to throw up red flags. But no, Salon thinks it's perfectly fine. The people at Salon think it's perfectly fine that David Weiss, the guy that was involved in the cover-up and giving Hunter Biden a plea deal that gave him immunity for eternity, they think he's perfectly fine. Nothing wrong. No improprieties there. Not even an appearance of improprieties. Oh, because he was appointed by Donald Trump, don't you know? That's why there can't be improprieties. Because he was appointed by Donald Trump, it's impossible for him to be covering up for the Bidens. That's what they want people to think. The people that read Salon, the Democrat leftist bootlickers that read this stuff when they're in their echo chamber, they believe every single sentence of this. And because they do not look at the other side and they cannot think critically, and they're stuck in this giant echo chamber where they just repeat talking points that make them feel good to one another, they'll never know anything about who David Weiss is. They'll never know anything about the appointment process of U.S. attorneys. All they know is that he was appointed by Donald Trump, and so therefore he can't be involved in any cover-ups for the Bidens. This is how these people think, and because we have such a dishonest media, because we have such a corrupt, rotten media, they're not going to tell their listeners, they're not going to tell their viewers the process of appointing a U.S. attorney from Delaware. They have no idea that 2 Democrat senators have to sign off on the nomination of the U.S. attorney in Delaware. No idea. They'll have no idea. So if they knew that part of the story, see, this is what the media does. The left-wing media leaves out massive chunks of context. They never put anything in context, ever. This is why they take little snippets and clippets of things and they put them in there, because they literally brainwash their listeners and their viewers. Because we're in an information war. That is why. They're calling war on this. They have declared war on information. They have declared war on this country. And so they're not going to tell their viewers, they're not going to tell their readers the appointment process of a U.S. attorney. All they're going to tell their viewers and their listeners is that this guy was appointed by Donald Trump, so therefore there's no way he can be implicated in covering up for the Bidens. And that's what people will believe. This is why people still believe the Russia collusion hoax. This is why people don't know who Tony Bobulinski is. This is why people think that all this is about Hunter Biden, when in fact all of it's about Joe Biden. Nobody gives a flying shit about Hunter Biden, this crackhead that makes millions of dollars from foreign oligarchies. Nobody cares. What we care about is the president of the United States compromised. Is our president compromised by these deals that his son and himself and all the other business partners made with foreign countries? Foreign countries that hate us. So, for instance, a perfect example of this, when we have a Chinese spy balloon that traverses our entire country from coast to coast, and the president doesn't order it to be shot down, you have to always ask yourself the question, was it a deal that he made? Was that balloon, was allowing the Chinese Communist Party to fly a balloon, a spy balloon over our country, was that part of a deal that Hunter Biden made and Joe Biden got kickbacks from? This is the kind of stuff you have to think about. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying that is what you have to think about when you have a compromised president like Joe Biden. And so this is why people don't care about Hunter Biden. We care about the president. Is this president a national security risk? Is he putting this country in danger with the deals that he's been making with his son? Okay? This is why people care about what is happening with all these scandals and Joe Biden. That is why. This isn't shit that was made up like the Democrats did with a fake dossier and the Hillary Clinton campaign, all right, that went on for 4 years. All right, this isn't one of those fake, phony investigations like the January 6th committee that Nancy Pelosi set up that we're going to be talking about in the next episode. Somehow, a massive portion of the evidence from the J6 committee was destroyed. It's missing. Even though the Democrats were told that by law, they need to retain all documents and evidence involved in the January 6th committee. And what do? Oh, they just destroy it. They just, gone, poof. Screw you, we're doing what we want. That's what they said. Because they destroyed evidence. It's incredible, but I digress. We're going to talk about it on the next show. So I want to get back to this article. So in a lengthy statement, House Oversight Chairman James Comer dismissed Garland's appointment of Weiss as part of the Justice Department's effort to attempt a Biden family cover-up in light of the House Oversight Committee's mounting evidence of President Joe Biden's role in his family's schemes selling the brand for millions of dollars to foreign nationals. He went on to accuse the Justice Department of misconduct in the investigation into Biden by refusing to pursue certain evidence, tipping off Biden lawyers, and attempting to strike the sweetheart plea deal. The Biden Justice Department is trying to stonewall congressional oversight as we have presented evidence to the American people about the Biden family's corruption, he added before vowing to continue his probe into the Biden family. And he should, because it is clear and obvious that this is a stonewall tactic by the Department of Justice to protect the Biden family. That is what this is. Merrick Garland is like Joe Biden's personal bodyguard. He is like the lawyer for the mafia. That is who Merrick Garland is. And so we're seeing things we've never seen out of the Department of Justice before. This is why Merrick Garland and Joe Biden are single-handedly destroying our rule of law and the trust and credibility in our Department of Justice. And they don't even care. They don't even care. At the same time that they're covering up for the Bidens, they're smashing the trust and credibility of the Department of Justice to cover up for the Bidens. They're also weaponizing the Justice Department to persecute Biden's political opponents. I mean, this is like third world shit here. I mean, we're talking about Banana Republic, third world justice here. This is the kind of stuff they do in banana republics. So this is the America Democrats want for you. They want you to live in a country where they claim they are defenders of democracy while actively and knowingly destroying democracy by weaponizing the Department of Justice to persecute the president's, his boss, to persecute his boss's political opponents, like Vladimir Putin in Russia, while simultaneously using the Department of Justice to stonewall congressional investigations into his boss's family and into his boss. That's ultimately going to lead to his boss. That has already led to his boss. So his boss's corruption. So imagine that. That is exactly the kind of stuff a mob lawyer does. Cover-ups for his boss and then persecutes his boss's political opponents. That is what he's doing. That is exactly what's happening. And so look, I don't know what this means for the investigations into the Biden family, but I'm almost certain it's not going to make it easy. Now that there's a special counsel appointed, so now there's always going to be this, we can't talk about that because it's under investigation. Oh, he can't come testify because he's under investigation. All that stuff. That's exactly what happened. And so it's a stonewall tactic. They're going to try and drag this investigation out up until the election, and then they're going to, while kneecapping Donald Trump and making him go through all these trials using $1 billion in attorney fees, they're going to be covering up for the Biden family to try and get him across the finish line. This is the shit of third world countries, folks. I've never even read about shit like this happening. And then we have it happening right here in our country, all in just 2.5 years. So in 2.5 years, the Democrats, the Biden administration, and this corrupt Department of Justice and intel agency, the FBI, Christopher Wray, have single-handedly destroyed the trust and credibility into our government institutions. Just like that, boom, 2.5 years, gone. Because no matter what, anything that comes out of the Department of Justice, half of the country isn't going to trust. So the only people that are going to trust the Department of Justice is going to be the Democrats. So you have a one-sided Justice Department. So therefore, justice will not be blind. This is crazy, folks. This is crazy. Lady Justice has removed the blindfold. That is exactly what we're watching right now. And it's disgusting. It's so disgusting it hurts. It hurts me to watch this happening to our country. It really does. And it pisses me off that it's all being done by some corrupt attorney general, some corrupt president and his family, and all the other corrupt bureaucrats in the Democrat Party, in our federal government. That's what hurts me. All these bureaucrats. This is why Donald Trump is going to get elected. And this is exactly why Donald Trump needs to go in there and clean this shit up, man. This stuff has reached epic levels of corruption. And everybody sees it. Even the people at Salon see it. But they want to lie to their viewers and lie and manipulate and brainwash their viewers, gaslight their readers so that they don't understand what's going on, so that they can stay safe inside their echo chamber and not get the truth. So what's going to happen, I'm telling you, I was thinking about this today. What's going to happen is in a couple years, you're going to have all the corruption of the Biden family investigated, tried, and convicted, while simultaneously Donald Trump is going to be vindicated and elected as president. That is what I see happening down the road. Because I'm telling you, average Democrats, normal, sane Democrats I'm talking to, see exactly what is going on. I had somebody talk to me today about the corruption in the government, and this person is a true Biden voter, a Democrat. The level of corruption in the government is so obvious. It is so obvious. This Department of Justice and this administration, the corrupt bureaucracy has gotten so desperate that they have just aired out all their dirty laundry in front of everybody. People are going to have a choice in 2024 to say, look, I may not like him. I may not like the things he says, but at least he's the guy that I know is going to go in there and clean this shit up. How do I know that? Because he's their enemy, and the enemy of my enemy is my friend. That's just my opinion. That's what I think is going to happen, because we all know these trials are shit. These trials are garbage. All these cases are garbage that they brought against him. They're garbage. They are absolute garbage. And I'm telling you, the only thing Jack Smith did was just allow Donald Trump to litigate the 2020 election like he's been wanting to do for the last 3 years. Just like all of us have been wanting. I've been wanting the 2020 election to be litigated in court under oath with subpoena power for 3 years, ever since the election. I've been wanting to get to the bottom of it. And that's exactly what's going to happen in the Washington, D.C. case, in the Washington, D.C. trial. If it's allowed to move forward, which it will be, okay, because it's all corrupt. They're all Trump-hating judges, all Democrat judges, Obama-appointed judges, okay? They are corrupt. They are a part of the swamp. They are the swamp. Our judiciary system in Washington, D.C. is broken. It's a complete disaster. And so there is no way that Donald Trump is going to get a fair trial by a judge that was appointed by Obama, that donated to Obama, that most certainly voted for Biden, a jury pool that is probably 99.9% Democrat, that probably hates Donald Trump because they watch CNN and MSNBC, and they have been infected with Trump derangement syndrome. So you can almost guarantee that Donald Trump is going to get railroaded by this judge and this jury pool. There's just no way around it. Unless they move the case outside of Washington, D.C., which is certainly what the Trump team, I guess, is trying to do, which anybody can tell you. I've seen people on Twitter saying that Donald Trump will get a fair trial in Washington, D.C. These people are insane. They can't honestly believe that. They can't. They know Donald Trump is not going to get a fair trial in D.C., but they don't want him to have a fair trial. That's what people need to understand. These people have been broken to a point to where they actually don't want Donald Trump to have his rights. They want to strip Donald Trump's rights away from him, his due process, his Fifth Amendment, all his rights, his freedom of speech. They don't want Donald Trump having a fair trial. They want the justice system to be weaponized against him. They're perfectly okay with that, because I've been saying this for months on this show, and you know that. That to them, the ends justify the means. And if you got to break a few eggs to make the omelet, then you got to break a few eggs. And so to them, it is worth all of it. It is worth stripping the former president of his God-giving rights just to get what they want. Whatever that is, I don't know. I think it's clear by now honestly, I think they want him dead. They want him dead. This is the level these people have gone. This is the level of evil that has overtaken the Democrat Party. They want Donald Trump to die in prison. They don't want him to have a fair trial. They don't want him to have due process. They don't want him to be able to exercise his free speech. They don't want him to have any of that. This is what the media has done to millions of Americans. They have turned them into psychopaths. And so when Whoopi Goldberg says, I don't understand where things got weird, this is pretty freaking weird to me, man. This kind of behavior from Americans targeted at their fellow Americans is very weird behavior. And we've never seen anything like this before, where these people are so obsessed with one person. And then they point the finger at the other side and say, they're in a cult. Okay, we're in a cult. Okay, sure. These people are obsessed with Donald Trump. I've been telling you this for months. Ever since I started the show, I've been telling you, these people are obsessed with getting Donald Trump. That is the behavior. That is the mindset behind all this. And so when I seen this article from Salon, I was, I'm not really surprised anymore when it comes to, I'm not really surprised anymore when articles, I'm not really surprised by the left anymore and the Pravda media. I mean, they have lost all credibility. All credibility. I really don't understand how anybody takes anything they say seriously after all the lies and gaslighting that they've been caught in. I mean, they've been wrong on every major issue the last 10 years. Places like Salon, places like CNN, MSNBC. So the fact that anybody gives these people any kind of credibility is mind-boggling to me. And that leads me to believe that these people are broken. The only reason why they listen to CNN, the only reason why they listen to the Pravda outlets is to confirm their bias. It makes them feel good. It is Trump porn. That's what it is. Whatever makes them feel good. They don't want to be outside of their echo chamber. They like it in there. They're safe as long as they keep repeating the same talking points to one another, and they never have to see the real world, and they never have to unplug themselves from the Matrix. They are perfectly fine with that. And this is why when the truth hits them, it hits them hard. This is why they're crying and shit. Like when Donald Trump gets elected, this is why they cry and go berserk and try and attack the White House, knocking down fences and injuring Secret Service members. Oh, yeah, you guys remember that. The BLM riots, when they tried, I would probably say they tried committing an insurrection on the White House. They had to bring Donald Trump into the bunker of the White House. You guys remember that? Oh, yeah. They don't know that because, again, their media probably didn't tell them. So these people have no clue what is going on outside of their echo chamber. So they still think all this is about Hunter Biden, and it's not. All this is about Joe Biden. All the bank accounts, all the money, all the crimes that have been committed. And so whenever articles of impeachment get drawn up on Joe Biden and that process starts, they're going to be shocked. They're going to be shocked because their media has not primed them for that moment. And that is why these people go berserk. This is why they riot. This is why they burn stuff down. This is why they lash out. And usually they lash out on Donald Trump. Donald Trump's the one that gets all the lashings here. Every time a major story breaks on the Joe Biden corruption, the Biden family corruption, they either indict Donald Trump, they supersede an indictment on Donald Trump, or they leak something against Donald Trump, or they do something to Donald Trump. It's truly bizarre. We actually seen the timeline. That timeline came out about a week ago. On every single time negative news comes out about the Biden family scandal, news drops against Donald Trump. Whether it's a leak, whether it's an indictment, whatever it is. It's crazy. To the day, like the very next day. And what they're trying to do, they do it strategically. Like I said, they're weaponizing the media. We are in information war right now. This is information warfare. And so they strategically use the media to manipulate the public so that instead of talking about the Biden scandal, they're talking about Donald Trump. This is what they're doing. This is their strategy. Always keep Donald Trump on the news. Always. And look, I don't think it's going to work because I'm seeing a breakthrough. I'm seeing something like I've never seen ever, not even in 2020. I'm seeing people that got a clear contrast of the Democrat Party when they're in power and Donald Trump when he's in power. I didn't say the Republican Party because the Republican Party are cowards. They suck. They suck. Mitch McConnell sucks. Thune sucks. All these people suck. There is a handful of conservatives in the Republican Party, and that is why I vote Republican. But look, it's certainly not looking good for Joe Biden. I'm telling you that right now. I think I've been reading a lot of legal experts are saying that all these cases, all these Trump cases, are not going to be able to be litigated before the election. I mean, they're just too complex. There's too much evidence. You're talking about, terabytes of data, possibly millions of documents that have to be filed into evidence. Like, you're talking about indicting and trying to send a former president of the United States to prison for the rest of his life. You're talking about sending the former president of the United States to his death. I would hope that the trial, the justice system, would be a little bit more precise. These people on the left, the bootlickers, they think this is like an everyday run-of-the-mill trial. Oh, just move them in, move them out. They don't care, because to them, Donald Trump was never a legitimate president. They are the true OG election deniers. They have been denying elections for years. They've never accepted Donald Trump as their president. And so to them, he's not their president, and they want to try and erase him off the planet. That is what they want to do. These people are sick, man. They're sick people. And so I thought I wanted to get on here and give you a story for a Saturday. I'm going to be jumping on into something else. I have some audio from Dr. Jan Halper, and she says Jack Smith made a huge mistake in the D.C. indictment. And so we're going to be talking about that. I got about a 10-minute video where she's over there, I think in Britain, maybe in UK, and she lays out a pretty convincing case as to why Jack Smith may have messed up big time with the indictment. And I'm going to go ahead and, it's, like I said, it's a 10-minute video clip. I'm going to go ahead and play it. We're going to walk through it, and I'm going to read you I'm going to kind of verify what she's saying, because I think everything she says in that 10 minutes is absolutely genius. And so I want to go ahead as she's talking, and then I'm going to break down some of the facts that she lays out as far as how many cases were brought in 2020, how many election fraud cases were brought in 2020. We're going to do some serious fact checking, real fact checking. Not like what the Washington Post fact checkers. You guys notice how they don't fact check anything Biden says? The fact checkers are gone. Just like that, the first 100 days of the Biden administration, gone. And they even come out and say, they came flat out and said, oh, we're not doing fact checking anymore because we don't feel like we have to. That's what they said. The corruption and just double standard, hypocrisy, hierarchy is just in your face, and they don't even care, man. And so we are definitely reaching a tipping point. And I'm telling you, I think the tipping point is going to be Donald Trump winning in 2024. And all of this is going to get cleaned up. Because I think people aren't necessarily they're not looking for somebody that they like. I think at this point, I'm talking about the sane, rational Democrats, not the leftist bootlickers, the Bolsheviks. I'm talking about sane, rational Democrats. At this point, they just want somebody that's not in the establishment. They don't want it. They're tired of it. You're talking about people, especially the Democrats. When I was a Democrat, we hated the justice system. Hated it. We thought it was just like how I think now. I still hate it. I think our federal justice system, our judiciary branch is broken. The whole damn system is broken. The way that we have these revolving door prosecutions and trials and plea deals, I think plea deals are awful. When you sit there and you're just doing plea deals and the judges and prosecutors are having dinner with one another and discussing the whole damn system is broken. It is nothing. Our justice system is nothing like the founders intended. It is broken. And even when I was a Democrat, I said that. So I still have that mindset because I have principles and I have morals. I left the Democrat Party because they don't believe that anymore. These people have turned into bootlickers for the administrative state. They are the Bolsheviks. They are pro-establishment. And so this is why the sane, rational Democrats, when it comes to Donald Trump or Joe Biden, it's not Democrat versus Republican. It's going to be the people versus the establishment. And I'm telling you, a lot of sane, rational Democrats, just like me, still do not like the establishment. And they still truly believe in their hearts that the justice system is broken. That the entire government, this entire administrative state, this whole damn bureaucracy is broken. It is corrupted. It is rotten to the core. And that's almost exactly what the 2024 election is going to be about. And so this is why they're scared to death. And just like I said in yesterday's podcast, you're going to start seeing the raps fleeing ship. They're going to be fleeing the ship. They're going to be jumping overboard. Because if Donald Trump gets elected, then these their whole gig, their whole shtick, their whole gig that they've had for the last 50 years in our government, this massive corruption, this massive deep state, this bureaucracy that they've created for themselves, this club that we're not invited to, it's over. The whole damn gig is up because Donald Trump, I honestly can't think of anyone better to put in there to clean it up than the guy that the establishment was actually targeting, right? So wouldn't he know exactly where the bodies are buried? Of course he does. He knows who he needs to get rid of. He knows who all the corrupt people are. Of course he does. Can he actually save the FBI? I don't know. I don't know if the FBI is salvageable. I really don't. I think if you have Donald Trump fixing the FBI, then Democrats are not going to trust it. And the goal is to restore trust and credibility into these systems so that even Democrats can trust it too. And honestly, I don't think if Donald Trump did it, I don't think they would ever trust it. You know, maybe the sane moderate Democrats would, but it would have to prove it would have to earn its respect and trust back. But honestly, I don't know if the FBI is salvageable at this point. I don't. But places like the bureaucracy in the Department of Justice inside the administrative state, that could be cleaned out in a week. And all he'd have to do is just go in there. If he had the mandate, if he had the Senate and the House and the White House, so essentially if the people gave the Trump administration the mandate to clean up this government, he could have it done in a month. Completely done. Because as he's firing people, taking applications to fill those positions with regular Americans using Project 2025, which we talked about yesterday, which I'm going to talk in the next episode. I told you I was going to talk about in the next episode, but this actually popped up, so I talked about this instead. But I'm going to talk about Project 2025 in the next episode. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all for now. I actually wanted this to be a short show, but once again, it never is. So I'm going to go ahead, edit this up, and send it out for you so you have something to listen to on Saturday. So I'll try and have 2 episodes out tomorrow. I'll have one released tomorrow morning or Saturday morning, and then I'll try and release another one in the Saturday evening. On Saturday evening. So you guys will have 2 to listen to on the weekend. I'm going to try and get some episodes done for the weekend. Sunday too. I want to do something cool on Sunday. I haven't figured it out yet. So I'm just kind of freestyling it for now. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, if like always, I'm going to leave actually, I'm not. I am not going to put the Salon article in my podcast description. They can go to hell. So, because they're Pravda. So there's really no need to put their stuff on my podcast description. You know what? I will do it. I will put their article on my podcast description. I want my listeners to read their garbage. I want you guys to see what they're saying. I want my listeners to see what they're thinking. I want you guys to study what they're saying. And so I will leave it in my podcast description so you guys can take a look. If you want to get a hold of me at StephenTorrielloShow@gmail.com. And I want you guys to have a good day. Have a great weekend. God bless you. God bless America. You guys have a good day. Bye-bye.